I don't know. My brother was saying. I was talking to my brother, and my brother was saying like kind of like artist, like IT guy. Like he you put him at like a engineering desk. He's gonna mess with a lot of levers and engineer something. And he was really good at that. Like he realized like, oh, if I sit at a desk and I fiddle around with these knobs, I can engineer this thing that where people go, wow, that's really good. And so he liked to like sit at a piano for a long time, and he basically he had musical talent, really talented in music. And I'd say for sure he was a way better abstract thinker than me, because he could juggle more abstractions and synthesize them. So he was like a real artist, which I'm not really quite like that. Anyway, get to the point. I could talk about this forever. But basically, I always sympathize with him in the sense of like he probably had some things where he's like, oh, like can I be like cool? Like can I be like a manly, handsome guy? And people are like, no, you're not really like the handsome, studly guy that like, but like almost like under the right conditions can be like maybe I could become handsome. What's my point? It's just, but there's kind of like this like underlying frailty. I think you could say that for sure. Underlying frailty and weakness that just, as soon as he's gonna think like, oh, maybe I can be a handsome guy that women like, it's always gonna be like, no, you're clearly like, there's some weaknesses and frailty that's like revealed. And just like Trent Reznor, young, smiling. Like I would imagine I could I'm probably projecting too much into this, but when I look at Trent Reznor, I see a guy who like almost handsome, right? Almost handsome in like a man, like under the right light, almost like a handsome surfer guy. But then like if he slips up and just kind of smiles, there's kind of like an ugliness, like, and that's kind of what I relate to, is like there's like, if you talk to him for a while and you're looking at some animalistic level, if I looked at him for a long time, it's like, oh, like almost handsome, like strong guy, and then like just under the right light and he does some little thing with his face and it's like some sort of like like some sort of like frail, like Ichabod Crane, like dopey, freaked out, like skinny, dorky weakness thing. And I'm like, oh, I know that feeling. And then so he's probably thinking like, how can I hide that? How can I hide that, like that weak, frail, goofy, awkward, ugly thing that just makes me just not quite handsome, studly dude. That's basically what I identify. I don't know if I identify with that, but I always felt like that. I always felt like, somebody would say, you're a handsome guy. And I'm like, really? And they go, oh yeah, I'm a handsome guy. I should dress and act like handsome. And I'm like, well, no, you're not really, like, you're not totally, there's just enough like big nose, weird teeth, there's just enough weakness to just be like still kind of goofy, like awkward, weird, not manly guy. So what's the point? Basically, I just relate to that. I relate to like I would imagine in Trent Reznor's life there was always this feeling of like, can't I be like a handsome guy? Like I'm almost handsome, almost like surfer handsome, cool guy. And it's like, if you try to just be like the cool guys are gonna be like, you're not really like us. Like you're not really like a cool, studly. He's not going to join the surfer guys at like the studly, handsome stuff. He's going to be like doing some nerd thing that the studly guys are going to like, you should go play with your knobs and do your little engineering thing. And so what's the point? Basically, I relate to that. I relate to a guy who's just like, so basically, get to the point. He basically just, he's good at art, and he was like almost handsome, but not really super handsome. Not studly, handsome, strong, respectable man guy. Basically, like, just had some weaknesses. He had some weaknesses that he couldn't escape, so he tended to isolate a lot. And then basically he got into his 40s, and he said, fuck it, I'm getting old and gross, I'm just going to take steroids. And so he got hopped up on steroids in his 40s, and it just didn't really work. What's the point? I really love Trent Reznor. As like a human, I'm just like, oh, that's the guy, that's the teen idol I really relate to the most. What's the point? Trent Reznor, on Trent Reznor steroids. Just clearly on steroids, but talented. He was talented, but just, I don't even know quite how to explain it, but just if I look at his face, there's just some kind of like female, like bitchy weakness thing. I know what it is. I have like it's like some sort of like, what is it? I think it's like a weak chin, like weird, just something that's not quite good enough. It's just like he looks like somebody who's kind of like freaking out, and just like, I don't know how to explain it. There's just some female weakness thing that like I think he just, and just not quite studly. What is it? I don't know. I guess if you had to break it down, it's like slightly less volume in their chin, skinny shoulders, not broad, just not enough like bone structure, or just something that basically just not, he doesn't have enough man stuff. There's some man stuff that people get when they get like broad shoulders, lantern jaw, and if you just watch them well, it's like, there's some kind of weakness there. What's the point? Anyway, just I always related to that. And so anyway, I could talk about this forever. I'm just wasting my time. No one should listen to any of this. But Trent Reznor, in his youth, he would get like really, like in his youth, there was a thing where like when he was in his 20s, he could almost be like a woman. Like there's things where he dressed up like a woman, and he's like, well, I almost make like a better woman. And so in his 20s, or when his youth, he thought like, well, like, what if I just be pretty? And so he went through this thing where he was in his 20s, where he'd go on stage wearing like hoop, like he was like a goth guy who would like, he wore like lederhosen or something. He wore some sort of thing with like stockings, with like, basically he wore like female outfit type stuff for a while, because he was so like, he basically like in his 20s he made sort of a better woman than a man. And it just is just fucked up. It's fucked up to be a man who's like heterosexual, but you just don't make like you really would probably, he made basically like a better woman than a man. He basically, he was shy and like, I don't know, I'm talking about him, sensitive, and just like he could do like really beautiful things. Like if he was talented artist, and so left to his own devices, he could kind of like make some beautiful things where people go, oh, that's really good. And so his shyness was, but at the same time he wanted to fuck. He had that song where he's like, I want to fuck you like an animal. He wants to fuck, and he wants pussy. And so it's just really kind of a fucked up situation to be like a heterosexual man who's like almost handsome, but clearly like has some weaknesses and deficiencies that just make him more shy and awkward and sensitive, and he can't really be like the studly jock guy, but he's kind of like, God damn it, like, how do I make the best of what I got? So it's like, just the whole life was kind of like, can I be like a woman? And it's like, well, no, you're still kind of clearly heterosexual man. And then he's kind of like, can I be a man? And it's like, no, you're still kind of like not super manly. So what's the point? I don't know. I sympathize with that. So anyway, long story short, Trent Reznor is roughly 15 years older than me. And so he went through a phase in his 40s. I'm not nearly as good as Trent Reznor in many, many different realms, but I do relate to him, and I kind of look at him as like, well, what did he do? What did he do as somebody who's like similar? I relate to him. I sympathize with him. I'm not totally like him, but out of all the teen idols that I had available in the 90s, he was the guy that I thought like, he makes sense to me more than others. So anyway, in his 40s, he's like, God damn it, like, I'm falling apart. He was always freaking out about like aging too. A lot of his songs are basically like, I think he had this song called In This Twilight, and he's basically just crying about like he had a song called like Things Falling Apart, and he definitely expressed fear about like existential dread and like falling apart, and just, you know, he had that one of my favorite songs by him is Terrible Lie, and he says like, don't turn away from me, I need someone to hold on to. He's just clearly like clingy and scared, and just what's the point? I don't know. I think a lot of that was like overemphasized. That was kind of his he put that on more than he actually had in real life. I mean, the guy was a rock star with like a multi-million-dollar enterprise. I'm sure he was much more capable than he seemed in his songs when he was crying. but that's, to some degree, he must have felt a little like that. Get the point. Basically, identify with Trent Reznor. I think you could definitely say that, like, in spite of his success, he certainly had some weaknesses that were true to his songs. They were probably a little exaggerated, but, like, anyway, just basically I sympathize with you. Anyway, long story short, in his 40s, he got hopped up on steroids, and then and when he did that, his music wasn't really good. And now he's kind of like not really on the steroids anymore. And so what? Now he's making really good music for movie soundtracks. What's your point, Sean? He looks kind of like gaunt though. Like I don't want to get all like gaunt and like skinny. Like I don't want to get all like frail. What's the point? I'm basically just trying to think like what's the best way to get old? Like what's the best? I'm trying to plot a course ahead. It's like what's the best way for me to get old? I don't know. But anyway, long story short, Trent Reznor, he took steroids in his 40s. But then it seemed like he kind of got off the steroids. And so, fuck it. There he is, dressing up like a girl. Also, another interesting thing about Trent Reznor is that when he was on steroids, he got married and he had 5 kids. And so I wonder if that happened too. I wonder if basically like he's sort of like an effeminate dude. Effeminate dude. Didn't really make like a good manly dude, but then but he was like a rock star, and what's important, basically he got on steroids, and then when he got on steroids, during his height of steroids, he married a woman and he knocked up that woman 5 times, and so that's kind of my thinking too. It's like, well, maybe if I just stay on steroids. Just the horniness might make me like have sex with somebody. Basically, like, I guess what I'm saying is like, I don't know what I'm saying. What am I saying? It just seems like steroids were not good in my youth, but I've had this thought for a long time. Basically, like the last 15 years. It's like I'm probably gonna have to get on. I'm probably going to want to get on steroids as like an older man. Anyway, I've talked about Silvernoir. I've tried this. But I've tried steroids, and then eventually I do it for like 3 to 6 months, and I'm like, this is awful. And then I get off it. And then the steroids wear off, and then I get too skinny, and then I try to become skinny and pretty again, and then it's like, no, you're too old to be like skinny and pretty, and so I'm like, what the fuck? What's the point? I don't know, just basically, it's kind of a weird cycle of just inability to be anything really good. It's just like, can't really be young, but not really an old man, can't really be a manly dude, but can't really be a gay dude, can't really be like a total loser, but can't really be a total winner, and just knocking back and forth between breakdowns, dashing, like to being like, fuck it, let's go the other way, and then I stop, and then I go the other way. I just kind of being neither here nor there, and breakdowns and rebuilds and non-optimal, maybe this, maybe that, and just time going by. And so what's the point, son? I don't know, what is the point? Isn't that the crux of the whole problem is there is no point. There is no point. Can you substantiate that? As a broad generalization, could you say that in the case of magnetism, and just the case of the forces that tend to drive people's lives, the true absolute north point that those forces are driving towards in the case of magnetic polarities, and the true absolute south point is never totally there. It's not absolute, and it fluctuates, and it's kind of an oasis that the drive of those forces that both of them create will be places that the matter being directed by those forces never truly arrive at. It's somewhat elusive. Could you say that about the north and south pole points of any magnetic system, and just a lot of different positive and negative forces that drive people's actions and the stuff that people do in their lives? Could that be said to be true based on data? Yes or no? So the answer to my previous question could be yes, based on data, right? So you're saying it's true in the case of magnetism, but it doesn't totally translate to people's lives. Is that right? Can you explain testing? Can you explain to me how it doesn't translate to people's lives? Measurability and definition. Magnetism. We can precisely measure the Earth's magnetic field and track the movement of magnetic poles using scientific instruments. The north and south magnetic poles are defined by orientation and magnetic field lengths. Human lives. Definable absolute north-south in human life is subjective and varies greatly among individuals. That one person considers the print. Anyway, what are you trying to say, Sean? In the case of testing. Anyway, I'm wasting my time. You shouldn't watch this. Testing. Test. You piece of shit. Testing. Hey, testing. Hey, testing. Hello, testing. Can you fucking work? Testing. Testing. Hey, okay, so in the case of like electromagnetism or alternating current, could it be said to be true that like there's poles, there's like magnetic north, magnetic south, positive pole, negative pole? In the case of like alternating current or just electricity that goes between north and south poles, the electricity never totally reaches an absolute true north or true south before it kind of switches directions. Could that be said to be true or no? Could that be said to be true or no? Yes, in the context of alternating current and electromagnetic fields it generates, you can definitely say that something analogous to the earlier point about like the magnetic poles never being truly absolute reach before switching. So that is true, right? That is true. Yes. Is that true? Yes or no? Testing. Is that true? Yes or no? All right. So just isn't that sort of the case in people's lives too? Like people have certain like destinations and like goals and stuff, but it's not really totally exactly what they wanted. Or is that not true? Do people just kind of oftentimes have like loose goals and metrics for like when they officially achieve something, and as long as that definition is loose enough, They can absolutely attain that goal. Like if I had a goal to get a blue belt, if I was given a blue belt, then that would have been absolutely an achieved goal, right? There's definitely truth to this. While some goals have clear binary outcomes, the overall experience of reaching a goal and its alignment with our deeper desires can be more nuanced and may not always feel like a perfect absolute arrival at some idealized North Pole. Our internal landscape and internal circumstances are constantly evolving, which can shape our perception of success and fulfillment. But you can absolutely achieve a goal if the definition is loose enough, right? Anyway, what's the point? I don't know. I think I'm full of shit. And you can achieve goals. If your goal is to marry a pretty blonde woman, if you marry a woman and she's pretty and blonde, to most people, mission accomplished. If your goal is to get a blue belt, that's a absolutely achievable goal where you say, here's, I got the fucking blue belt, mission accomplished. If your goal is to make 6 figures, if you go to your bank account and your bank account says you had direct deposits of $120,000, you can absolutely, I made that fucking goal. So what's the point? I think it basically, but what's the point? Basically, absolute perfect points in physics can be a little fuzzy, but absolute achievable points in human goals and meaning can be attained. Is that right? Can you substantiate that? So basically, in the case of physics, absolute true points can be kind of fuzzy and often are at the microscopic level, but absolute achieving some point absolutely in terms of human goals or metrics that can be loosely described is very achievable, right? Yes. So yes, right? There's still absolute laws and constants. Anyway, I'm just wasting time. There's still absolute constants that govern probabilistic behavior. The framework is precise, even if the outcomes for individual particles are not always perfectly. In conclusion, you're correctly identifying that while the concept of absolute true points can be nuanced and even fuzzy in the realm of fundamental physics, the achievement of absolute points in human goals is very possible, particularly when the definition and metrics for those goals are flexible, within our control. It highlights so there can be like a point to stuff when you're talking about like meaning in humans' lives, and there's you can say like this is the point, and then you can like base your life around that point and achieve that point and have something to be proud of. Absolutely, right? Yeah. So basically, in life, people can make a point, they can define a point, and they can absolutely achieve that point. We can just say that. So in life, we can all define a point or have that point defined by others, and we can absolutely achieve those points. That's very doable for humans if they make definable and attainable points to life or their life, right? Yeah. And it's kind of good to do that, right? It can be good to do that. It can be good to tell yourself that's the point. You can make up your own or have that defined by others, and then chasing and attaining those can make you feel good and give you some shit to do other than think about death all day, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. Just give yourself a point. You can absolutely achieve that point. You could be like, I wanted to run 5 miles. I fucking did it. The point is, for the next hour, I want to run 5 miles. Like, I fucking did it. And to say like, and to just kind of be like nihilistic and say there's no point in life is kind of bad. Like, right? That's not particularly good for motivation, lifestyle, happiness, etc. Right? So that's true what I said, right? All right. So what's the point? Okay. So the point is, there are points. There is a point to life. There are different points, and you can make your own points, and you can absolutely achieve those if they're doable. So there are points to life. There's a point to life. Those points can be different points. You can define them. Other people can define them. If they're doable, they're worth doing, and they can give you satisfaction and pleasure by setting and chasing after and achieving doable points that are good to do and make you feel good, or make you healthy or happy, right? Very doable, right? For any of us. Yeah. So there's a point. There's a point for life. You can make it up. You can give it. You can have it given to you. Try to make sure. It's good to make sure they're doable, and it's good not to quit. And that's good. That's good. That's good. Let's talk about this testosterone stuff. Hey, I'm taking. Let's get down to brass tacks. I'm taking testosterone injections now, and Joe Rogan takes testosterone injections. Trent Reznor, I think, took testosterone injections. Sylvester Stallone and Mark McGuire, and a lot of men that I like who are over the age of 40. Bert Kreischer, Robbie Williams, Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably Tony Robbins. Just a lot of like cool dudes over the age of like 40 that I think are cool, where I'm like, well, that doesn't seem like a terrible way to exist in your 40s and 50s. They take testosterone, and so I would like to try to stay on testosterone, and I've noticed some pluses and minuses. Do these corroborate with data? I noticed that like there seems to be like a little more stability. I don't feel like my bones are crying. I don't feel as depressed during sunset. There's kind of like a keep on trucking, it'll be okay feeling. There's like more muscle mass, less kind of like deflated, like shrink wrap, shriveling neck, and like more muscle mass, less like decrepitness over time, and just like maybe like a little more of like a feeling of sunshine, even though it's artificial, and like a feeling of security. Are those common? Like basically, there really are like kind of like pluses and minuses to. There's pluses and minuses to testosterone after the age of 40, and it's a lifestyle choice. Oh, the guy on Clear Hot, Andy Stumpf, the Navy SEAL on Cleared Hot, he's admittedly on testosterone after the age of 45. So this is kind of like a lifestyle choice that has kind of like pluses and minuses for a lot of men. And can you list those pluses and minuses, particularly ones that like are similar to what I've defined? Potential pluses you've noticed. It sounds like you're experiencing some of the effects that are commonly reported with testosterone replacement therapy in men. And you're right, it's a topic with both potential benefits and risks. It's also true many men, particularly as they age, consider TRT for various reasons. Let's look at some of the potential pluses and minuses of testosterone replacement therapy, especially in relation to the effects you've described and whether these align with available data. Potential pluses you've noticed and corroborating data: more stability and improved mood. Your feeling of keep on trucking and less depression during sunset aligns with some data suggesting that adequate testosterone levels contribute to mood regulation and a sense of well-being. Low testosterone is sometimes associated with symptoms of depression, irritability, and fatigue. So like more energy, less fatigue to some degree. TRT can potentially stabilize mood in men with clinically low testosterone. Reduce bone discomfort. Your feeling of your bones are crying could be related to testosterone role in maintaining bone density. Lower testosterone levels can contribute to a decrease in bone mineral density, increasing the rates of osteoporosis in bone. TRT can help improve bone density in some men with low testosterone. Increase muscle mass and reduce deflated feeling. This is a well-known effect of testosterone, and an anabolic hormone that plays a key role in muscle protein synthesis, leading to increased muscle mass and strength. Men with low testosterone often experience a decrease in muscle mass and an increase in body fat, which TRT can help reverse. Feeling of sunshine and security. While less direct, an improvement in overall energy levels, mood, and physical well-being can certainly contribute to more positive outlook and create sense of security and vitality. This aligns with broader effects of TRT on energy levels and mood. So there's a lot of data that says that like TRT can create improvement in overall energy levels, mood, and physical well-being that can contribute to a more positive outlook and greater sense of security and vitality. Those are like well-documented things that TRT often does, right? Yeah, so basically like that's kind of what I'm trying to beat into my head is like I've said for a long time now that like I've said what do I get? What do I get for like doing blah blah blah? And so in my mind I'm trying to beat this into my head, which is basically like for a long time I've said like what do I, so basically like for the last year, like basically I took testosterone a year and a half ago and it got me into jiu-jitsu and it made me like face some TRT definitely makes me like more willing to like face people. It gets me out of my comfort zone a little bit. Even though it's fake, it helps me be a little less of a pussy, basically. I'm a little less of a pussy on testosterone. It gives me like a little boost that says like, you know, just get in there and do that thing. And so keep on trucking, feeling. Get the point, Sean. And then like I stopped the testosterone and I got skinnier. And when I got skinnier, I was like, oh, like maybe if I get skinny and I grow my hair out, basically if I'd be like more female, if I for sure off testosterone, I get skinnier and prettier. And I thought like, basically I was making YouTube videos for like the last year, trying to be skinny and pretty and thinking like, hey Christy, I was trying to like, I want my ex to like me. And kind of, I don't know, like maybe she didn't like me, but I know when I was, what's your point, John? I thought there was something in my head that says if I just get skinny and pretty, maybe my ex will like me. And I would imagine, I don't totally know, but I would imagine my ex and a lot of women are just looking at me being like, too old, too, like, you're not turning me on, like, you're too old. And I know my ex well enough. I mean, I can't totally imagine what she, but I would imagine like the whole time is like, you're not cute anymore. And I'm not cute anymore. And I kept thinking over the last year, like maybe if I just keep working out, I can be young and cute looking like I was in my prime. And I can't really, like, even if I work out till the cows come home and even if I do this and that, I still look, there's just kind of like, you're old. There's like a lot, too many signs of oldness. There's like a seam down my neck. There's like a lot of signs of like oldness. One of them is like, you get these kind of like turkey goblet things and like this little line down your neck that goes, that's officially an old guy. There's like little crumpling and sagging of skin under your jaw. It's like, that's an old guy. There's like your mouth kind of shrivels up and loses volume. It's like, ah, that's an old guy. Like forehead wrinkles are a little too like, ah, that's an old. There's just too many like. There's like these dents that form underneath your bags under your eyes. There's just a bunch of things that come in from every angle that say that's an old guy. Like that guy's clearly dying. It's fucked up, but that's really the case. Just like a fruit or flower, just neck shriveling and like that's old, like past prime, old. So there's just no way to be like prime anymore. It's kind of like I can get cute and people are like, well, you look pretty good for like a 45-year-old. You look more like a young man than most 45-year-olds, but still like older guy. Don't try. You're not tricking any 20-year-old in thinking that you're also a 20-year-old. And so basically it's like fuck. And so I dyed my hair red, and I thought like maybe if I dye my hair red and like paint my face, I can still look like maybe that's a guy in his 20s, or maybe that's a guy in his prime. Basically, I really want to look like a guy in his prime. I'm basically just thinking like can't really do it. There's all sorts of little things. Like there's like just the shoulders, the little man boob thing. There's just a bunch of little things that says old guy, like old guy. So basically like, there's just too many like old guy things. And so so again, so I say like what do I get? So basically I'm gonna go ahead and say that. I'm gonna go ahead and say that for the last year and a half, like the last year and a half I was making all these YouTube videos, thinking in the back of my mind that if I just get like skinny and pretty, my ex will like want to fuck me again. She doesn't want to fuck me. She's not gonna fuck me. She probably can't even have kids anymore if she could have ever had kids. And so it's kind of like, what do I get? Well, it's not getting me my ex to come back. And so what else? I noticed like for sure, like in the time that I was making YouTube videos, getting skinny and pretty, it got me like a little more views. Like probably there were some gay guys or some sort of like people who said like, oh, that guy's kind of cute for an old guy. I don't know, whatever it was. Like I can being off steroids made views go up. Like I got more views. So basically like if I stay off steroids, it seems to be like can look cuter in a natural way, but still like a skinny old guy, can probably get more views because you don't look like a dumpy sort of like shitty everyday man plumber guy. So basically like can be kind of pretty but still like old guy. And so basically it's not going to get me, it seems like no matter what, not going to get a hot young chick no matter what, not going to get my ex to come back no matter what. And then like what do I even get for views? Like if I get views on YouTube, great, some strangers watch my YouTube thing. Actually the videos that got the most views were just me moping about my like loser situation. like I did all these push-ups and things, and I'm like, look how many push-ups I do. People are like, whatever, you suck, you have like man boobs and stuff. But then if I talk for hours on end about like I'm such a failure, people go, yeah, like that. People want to, the only thing people really want to see me do is like basically be like a loser failure. And so again, I'm thinking like, what do I get for views? Like, well, even if I wanted to get a lot of views, the thing that tends to get the most views is basically like moping about, just basically depicting myself as a total loser failure. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, we want that. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that. And so, but that, if I take testosterone, I do that more. It's like, if I do testosterone and I go jiu-jitsu, I don't do that shit quite as much. And so, so what's the point? So basically I'm trying to beat it into my head about like, what do you get? What do you get for being skinny and pretty? The answer really might be like nothing. I get some weird satisfaction of being like, I'm still young, like I still look, but really like if I look, I'm kind of deluding myself. And if I really look at those improv videos, still like old, like you're kind of like really forcing the like, you basically, I'm trying to delude myself that I'm pretty, but if I'm really honest, like clearly older guy. And so what's the point? So just, that's going to be kind of sad. That's going to be like, if I'm basically basing a whole lifestyle around deluding that I'm pretty, and meanwhile everyone's like, you're clearly an older guy, you're not the handsome person that you think. That seems like kind of delusional, kind of sad. So what's the point? So basically I'm just thinking like, maybe just get through the day. Like maybe just stay on steroids. You won't be pretty, you won't look young, but you won't be like crying And you probably also won't like have some delusional like I'm still pretty thing. Like maybe you can just cope with life as like, you know, like maybe you can just keep a job. Maybe you can just do some work, do some artwork, do a job, show yourself to the world as somebody who's not, you're not somebody that people really want to look at. You never really were. Like, yeah, even if you got pretty, you can be like, okay, but like you're not going to be like some model person. You never were some model person. So basically that's kind of what I'm trying to say is like, what do you get for having social media views? Nothing, really. I'm not making any money from it. I guess I have like a weird like, hey, people like me, but like really they just, you mostly are just, if you're making videos, you're mostly just good for seeming like a failure. Like you're the most interesting thing about you in videos is like telling some loser story of failure, which is kind of the real situation. Like if you're gonna be honest, what you can really talk about honestly is like life as a jobless person sheltered by your dad at 45 with no job opportunities. That's what you can authentically talk about where people, well, that now you sound like you're being honest. And so like, do you want to do that? Do you want to make a lot of videos just seeming like a loser? You can get more views that way. Maybe it's like a joke. I don't really want to like drone on for like 5 hours about losing. So what's your point? So basically like maybe occasionally I'll make some like, it's kind of fun to just make like an exaggerated like loser thing that seems it's like slightly bullshit. Maybe I'll do that, but basically I don't want to spend like a ton of time doing that. What do you think? I think I'm just gonna stay on steroids, forget trying to be pretty, forget trying to get views, focus more on just like keep on trucking, be positive, and just cope with like real life, which is kind of, it's dry, it's boring, and reality at 45, which is not optimal, but still some good stuff. Like still like if you work out, you will feel good. You will, if you work out every day, you can be more fit than most 45-year-olds, and like you can be pretty healthy for your age, and you can go running with your dogs, and you can possibly, with steroids or without steroids, you probably can be attractive enough to find a mate who's like your age who can give you a boner. I know you want to believe like I only want a supermodel who looks like Kate Upton, but if you're really honest, and you know, and also probably with the steroids and the horniness, like there's definitely more horniness. There's more like male boner inducement from testosterone that could make, I could, over the next 5 years, if I stay on testosterone, or even if I don't stay on testosterone, it's definitely doable to like find a woman who's somewhat within my age range who I could get a boner for, and I'll be better able to get a boner for if I'm on testosterone. And so what's the point? I think that's not unrealistic. I think like basically that's probably a good idea, is like hang in there, stay in shape, don't expect to get like a 20-year-old hot chick, but just expect that like maybe if you just like get a job and don't cry all the time, you can find like a person somewhat within your age range. Like let's just say like within 10 years, she might be like late 30s, early 40s, and like if you're honest, like you could easily get attracted to her and she could be attracted to you, and just, yeah, that's probably like a doable thing. I was saying like